go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the south-afrifur podcast. This is your host speaking, Ivig Wolf, and my co-host Scratch is sitting theoretically next to me.
What's up?
And then our guest for this evening is Arrkay. If you could say hello,
Hello.
Arrkay. There we go. Now, Arrkay is a red-winged blackbird, obviously joining us this evening. He's been around since 2010 and has since become a voice on the many questions we might have in respect to the anthro or furry culture. He's pretty much covered topics from Egyptians to furry muck, from furry economics to con culture. He helps us understand the inner nature of that what is, as well as our sort of social dynamics. He's slowly getting headway within the community as an influential voice on the origins of the furry fandom. His matter-of-fact commentary and his interesting looks into the history of furries gives a lot of weight to the argument that it didn't just start in one place. He's been researching these origins and looking at backstories on popular topics within the fandom, and we're glad to have him on. Now, obviously, for those of you who don't know, his channel is called Culturally Effed. He's also started a Patreon account, which we'll also talk about later within the podcast. But yeah, welcome, Arrkay. Glad to have you on.
Yeah, it's great to be here again.
Yeah, we had you on last time. It was a fun talk.
Yeah,
I thought, you guys put me on hold. I thought I thought this was the same episode still. So I've just been sitting here waiting for about 6 weeks.
Wow, how magnificent is your beard now? Seriously.
In a word, I would say it is mighty.
Oh, yes.
Mighty beard.
Okay, so let's
So
jump
yeah,
right in.
tell us a little bit more about Culturally Effed. I know that we kind of spoke about it last time, but I mean, since we do have a new sort of listener base, maybe you can also fill them in about what Culturally Effed is actually about.
Yeah, so Culturally Effed is an exploration of anything involving anthropomorphic animals. Big focus on the furry fandom, especially. So a lot of the most recent episodes have been all about the furry fandom, and a lot of the earlier episodes were more about ancient culture and myths and anything else that is anthro-related, but like predates the fandom.
By a few thousand years, even.
I'll say, yeah. So yeah, we've been picking up. I've been doing this since March, and just today I checked, and we were at 350 subscribers.
Awesome.
So that's almost 2 subscribers a day,
Okay.
which is exciting for us. We launched a Patreon very recently, patreon.com/culturallyeffed, and that is to help support the channel because currently I am between jobs, and this costs me a lot of time and money to make, and I can't really keep making it without some kind of income. So I'm just hoping to keep that going a bit with some support from the fan base. But we're still building it up, right?
Okay.
All right. Yeah, no, I mean, and obviously, like, you've been gathering large amounts of information from large amounts of places, and I mean, your most recent conversation, and it's actually something that was spoken about with Kyle from last week, in that somebody was asking why there's so many furry puns, and I mean, obviously, your newest episode kind of talks about the lingo and things like that. So, I mean, maybe you could sort of, for our fans, elaborate on that.
Oh boy, hold on. Mark dropped from the call. Getting him back on. 1 second. Mark, you back?
Yep, I'm back.
Cool.
Okay. How much did you get?
I think I just lost your last sentence there. We were talking about furry lingo.
Yes.
So that one, I just sort of poked around. There's a bunch of different blogs and sources that had, all of them had incomplete lists, so I had to sort of Frankenstein them together and throw in a couple that I knew that I couldn't find. And even with all that, I still missed some. So I made sure it was just part 1, and we're gonna probably do a part 2 and probably even a part 3.
All right, sweet. But I mean, yeah. I have no idea what I was about to say. Sorry,
Hmm.
I interrupted you for
yeah.
no reason. My apologies. My brain's
Well,
busy.
It's okay.
with the information that you're gathering, like, I mean, I know that people should really sort of watch your show and everything like that, but maybe you could sort of give them a background as to what furry lingo is, open up towards that kind of perspective. Maybe as
Yeah,
far
sure.
as your first episode goes, and then we can talk about like episode 2 and 3. Not necessarily now, but I mean, like, we'll, as soon as episode 2 and 3 are out, then we'll uh, use our powers to say the exact same thing to
Yeah,
people.
yeah. So
Cross-pollen.
like in the first one, I really talk about the really technical terms of what the furry fandom is and what anthropomorphic means. Because it's one thing. It's one thing to tell people, "Oh, well, we're fans of anthropomorphic animals." No one's going to give a shit. No one cares. This is a long, kind of boring sounding word. And so I cover that in the episode 1, and in the most recent episode, we go over just some more general terms, and that was more inspired by Idea Channel. It's a great YouTube channel by PBS. They had an episode on does the internet have dialects? So do people speak differently on Twitter than they do on Facebook? If you're posting on 4chan, are you posting differently than you would on Reddit? And my theory is furry, being one of the oldest social groups on the internet, would thus have the thickest internet accent, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
So one easy way to start exploring that is just go word through word as a little furry dictionary.
Is that accent, or is that more sort of Creole? I guess not Creole, or
yeah.
like
Mike on Idea Channel used the word dialect, which might be accurate, and he was mostly talking about what he called American Internet English, because different languages will have their own different corners of the internet and their own communities and their own way of communicating, whether it is through memes or if it's just through like short codes or in jokes. And furry has a lot of in jokes.
This is true. I mean, and that's one of the things that we were talking about last week is that there are many furry puns out there. There's way that we can, and it's kind of strange, like especially when Imvu took over for Affinity, they started making these puns and people got annoyed with it. Inasmuch as yet on the other side, you look at the Disney side and you're looking at their newest movie coming out, Zootopia, where they did the exact same thing, but people were like, "Oh my God, it's for furries," and so like you see this mass divide between the two of them, because I mean you'd think that with when it comes to furries and Imvu, the furries are a lot younger that side. It's sort of an under 18 version of getting into a Second Life.
Maybe, I don't know. I think Imvu is actually a little bit more raunchy, or not raunchy, just like that is definitely an element that's going on there.
Well, I got a news flash for you guys. Teenagers are horny.
For real?
Oh
yeah.
no! How did that even
Like,
happen?
my monocle had just dropped into my martini,
Uh-huh.
and I know it's shocking, but yeah, teenagers love porn, and furry is a very accessible, very colorful, creative, and personal access to it. And so yeah, we have a lot of fandom members, as you would call them, who are under 18. And not all of them are in it for porn. I don't want to give that impression, as I've met plenty of fursuiters at conventions who are. I ask how old they are. Oh, they're 16. Oh, good thing I didn't share my flask with you.
And you think about like the whole sort of fursuiting thing. I mean, like it not only disguises who you are, but it disguises your age as well. Until you hear them talk. And firstly, how do you get money for that?
They got disposable incomes. They don't have to pay rent.
Not true. From where?
They're
From
teenagers.
parents, yeah.
They're their parents or their grandparents.
Or
500
grants or
Or they
whatever.
work a part-time job at the McDonald's.
$500 for an okay suit from I think pretty
Well,
much.
I'm sure a lot also make their own, right? And that's
Yeah.
a lot cheaper and more of a fun art project.
Yeah, because summer vacation is long there.
Now, you actually had an episode about fursuiting, right?
I did, yes. It's
Yes.
episode 14, drag and fursuiting.
Okay.
In that, I sort of talked about just about everything there is to talk about as like a baseline in season one, but
Hmm.
I didn't really get to talk about fursuits as its own episode.
Okay,
Um,
because that would be something that I want to ask you. Now, I mean, with your experience with people in fursuit and things like that, have you ever asked them, like, why, or actually, here's a question for you, since it actually connects with fur economics as well. When it comes to people beginning their own fursuit shops and things like that, I mean, it's been noticeable that there have been a lot of like private fursuit makers opening up all across America and like sort of creating their own little niche market and things like that.
mhm.
Does that affect people like Made for You or Fur for All?
Made for You and Fur for All being like larger fursuit
Larger, yeah,
studios.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I think part of that might just be beyond just the fandom per se, and might just be more like the at-home sort of build your own business economy. Like,
Hmm.
because fewer and fewer people are finding satisfying work out in the world, and so a lot of them like they start up Etsy stores to sell their knitting and such.
Hmm.
Furry being a very creative thing, and it has a lot of consumers who want to buy stuff and buy art and buy fursuits and buy ears and tails and all that other good stuff and books and comics. Um, it's appealing and creative, and it's hands-on, and you get a finished product at the end, and you mail it out to a very happy customer, and it's very satisfying.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, then at that point you have to look at like the quality and person by person. So I
Yeah.
think that might be more of a broader explanation as to why we're seeing more fursuit makers.
I mean, you'd think that a larger or a more experienced fursuit, we'll call them company,
Hmm.
um, because they've begun to sort of perfect the art and actually start speeding up the amount of processing time that it takes them to actually get through the sort of rigmarole of, okay, this needs to go here, this needs to go here, this needs to do this, and these are the things that it needs to do. Do you think that, would you think that, under the same sort of principle as um, Mr. Ford, that they should actually be dropping their prices to get a higher output?
Oh, I can't speak to that. I have no idea there.
Hmm.
Well, I mean,
I would think that yeah. I think if anything, if someone has a lot of experience and a lot of their fursuits are out and they're recognizably gorgeous, then if anything, that gives them the incentives to raise their prices because they're
Hmm.
more in demand. And then you go to the crappier, low quality one for a cheaper price.
Yeah, the thing is that would a cheaper price necessarily imply lower quality? I know that there was
No.
actually there was in fact an argument about this at one point from one of our artists, and he was saying, well, he's just starting out. What do you think he should actually be charging for art that he's putting out there? And he's very, very good. I mean, there's no denying that. But I mean, like the thing is that could you, like, where do you draw the line that you start raising your
Mhm.
price for the quality that you're actually putting out?
Right. Well, I mean, quality and art is subjective, whether you're making a fursuit or a digital print.
yeah.
So someone's art may be subjectively beautiful, but they may have just made it for themselves or for free. Um, or it might just be garbage, but for whatever reason, they're very popular. And because of that popularity, they feel it's reasonable to charge more for each of their commissions.
Yeah, it's as much about your own perception of what your art is worth as it is market forces.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah, but I'm no economist, so.
yeah, I know of a like, or actually, I'm sort of friends with a rather popular furry artist who will remain anonymous at this point, who has basically like gone without a job and is sustaining himself just by doing commissions at this point.
Yeah, and
Himself.
people have done it. People definitely manage to sustain themselves on furry art. I know someone here in Toronto who was selling so much furry art that she had to explain to her parents that why she was leaving her regular job because her furry art bought her a car, and her regular job was paying pennies.
Oh,
So yeah,
good on her. Good on them.
Yeah, I mean, like if like Rocket Dog does say, demand equals price increase, but in that same sense, I mean, like it's a give take. It really is. The thing is that obviously more output means at a slightly cheaper price means that you're, and at the same point, like as an artist, as somebody who's doing this because they love doing it, at one point does it become a job rather than a recreation?
exactly.
Mm.
Like me working on Culturally Eft is a great example of that. At one point, does Culturally Eft become more than just a hobby for me? Is that when I hit my highest goal of 750 per video, or is it going to be less?
Or is it when the
I don't know.
Patreon account brings in like 200 a month, 500 a month, 1,000 a month?
Yeah, exactly. Does that point, does it switch from just this fun thing I do on weekends to this thing I've decided to devote way more time to?
No, that's very true. But although I think also like if we could just quickly jump back to like what I mentioned, the thing about the whole furry culture that is like it's pretty evident is that quite a lot of furries have a lot of disposable income because it's a hobby or a culture or whatever you want to call it, a lifestyle that does not necessitate purchases. Like it's not like rock climbing where you need the gear and you need the transport to get somewhere,
Yeah, but
or mountain biking that again needs the bike itself.
The thing is that those are synonymous. If it's your passion, then those are the things that you're going to put your disposable income into.
Exactly, but it's not. Yeah, that is where the disposable income goes. It's not something that per se needs an investment to start off with, as like I said, mountain biking or something.
But I mean, like in comparison to a fursuit is an initial investment, and frankly, like if you sell it, you're not going to make the same amount back.
Yeah, but it's not. You don't need a fursuit to be a furry.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you,
Okay.
you obviously need a mountain bike to go mountain biking. Otherwise, you're just a dude who walks.
With a backpack and a canister of water,
If you even want to go ahead and buy those.
then you're a mountain biker by those logical points. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I think that's where the
Yeah.
money comes from in most cases.
No. You're absolutely right. I mean, in the same sense as is that like, what about anime culture? You don't have to, have an initial investment to do the exact same thing. Exactly the same with brony culture.
Yeah.
Your disdain is extreme.
Dude, I don't get that. I do not get that show. But whatever. This is not
Okay.
not a topic. Let's not go down that road. Agree to disagree. We have a guest.
anyway, what on earth were we talking about? Going
Money,
on about fursuits and
Yeah.
economics.
money, disposable income, people who make a living out of it.
Yeah.
That's where we were.
Yeah, I didn't really believe in the furry lifestyle until I realized I was living it.
Fair point.
I was like, wait a second, all these people I live with are furries, and there's an awful lot of furry books on my bookshelf, and a lot of furry art on my walls. Uh-oh. I think I'm living the furry lifestyle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can also see like one or two things that betray it around me right now.
There's a wonderful piece of art that I have that was given to me by a very, very good friend when I was in grade 8. And that's a good couple of years back. And it's these two wolves randomly standing around a woman with red hair, who is at this point actually naked. I'm looking at it right now. And the day that I brought furries into the household that I have was the day that they pointed out that shading did not, like shading just below the sort of hip area on one of the wolves did not look like shading. It looked like something completely and utterly prehensile. It looked like something, not prehensile, it looked like a
An
large
appendage?
rod, yes, a large rod-like appendage.
Oops.
And I looked at it and I've never been able to look at it the same way again. Yet it's still up on my wall.
All
And
you see is wolf dick.
exactly.
More wolf child.
It's, yeah, and it's a white wolf and the shading just looks like that.
I mean,
But
like when
any
people
case,
paint horses, they don't omit the horse's anatomy. It's just the artist was probably just trying to be accurate.
huh.
Perhaps. Or maybe she was trolling him.
Or maybe she just wanted to put a wolf dick on your wall for you.
Now, Rocket wants a
Link.
link from me, but the thing is that I'm not necessarily sure whether I'm going to do that. Mostly because it's actually not on DeviantArt or on Fur Affinity. It's literally just on my wall.
It's a one of a kind.
It is a one-of-a-kind, laminated picture put on with press stick. You think that I'm not old enough for this kind of stuff to actually get a frame. But yeah. Any case, one of the things that I do actually want to ask you, Arrkay.
Mm-hmm.
Brony culture.
Sure. Yeah. What of it?
Okay.
I am
Well, I mean,
mentally
that's-
switching over for the next 10 minutes. Call me when you're done.
Fair point.
I would not consider myself a brony. I have watched a total of 2 episodes of My Little Pony. It was okay. It's not really my thing, but if people dig it, let them dig it.
Well, I mean, like the thing is that what I actually really wanted to ask is that
Yep.
how close? I mean, how thin is the barrier?
Well, it's pretty thin, I would think. Because not every brony is a furry. So, but some bronies definitely are. And when we think about, like, when will bronies just become furries, I think we'll know when My Little Pony stops and the show
Or-
ends.
Or when they have a My Little Pony episode that turns all of the ponies into ravenous wolves.
That doesn't make sense.
Carnivores, dude. Carnivores in, okay, not all of them then. Everybody except for everybody else. So the top 6 ravenous wolves run
You
into the
couldn't
entire
be
city
any less clear.
and rip everything apart.
Yeah.
Welcome to...
just send in your fan fiction to Hasbro Entertainment, and I'm sure they'll put that script right into production.
Well, there are already, like, wolf versions of all the,
I'm
the
sure,
main
yeah.
6.
There's-
And they are really, really cute, I have to say.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'll just, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's one part of the internet that I'm just like, nah, bro.
so I think when the show ends, when My Little Pony stops airing, the brony fandom will have its own, like, a few years of sunsetting, but after a while there won't be enough support to maintain their own conventions,
And then
so they're gonna have nowhere else to go but
And-
the furry con.
and to throw back to the conversation we had before, then we have to take in the refugees.
Oh yeah.
Ouch.
Oh man.
Wow. That, wow.
I don't think the audience was listening to that, but
Yeah, thank
we were
goodness.
talking about the refugee crisis earlier
Yeah.
for the audience. Anyway,
It's deep.
well,
and
what happened in the
harsh.
90s?
Nah.
In the 90s, there was a very large and very obnoxious fandom about a specific movie that came out by Disney called The Lion King. And the furry fandom at the time were really rolling their eyes at all of these ridiculous Lion King fans making their really awful fan art and being really obnoxious about their Lion King fandom. And after a while, people stopped giving a shit about Lion King, and they just reintegrated back into furry. And I think My Little Pony may have a similar course, but it is a longer format television show. It's not just a one-off movie.
And it's a much bigger audience, I believe.
Yeah, much. You know what? Rocket Dog is apparently asking all the good questions today. What about the Sonic fandom?
Ugh.
Yeah, they're I think just as obnoxious and awful as the brony fandom. Not that
Why?
I don't know. I'm being mean for no reason. I don't have anything against Sonic fans or bronies. It's just fun to poke fun.
And I'll just have you know that the Star Wars fandom has lived on its own since the 1970s,
Sure,
without
Yeah,
having
yeah.
to like connect itself with anybody else. In fact, they still hate the Trekkies. They've never actually decided to go there. It's
I
kind
don't
of
know about that. I mean, now that J.J. Abrams has had his hand in both pots, I'm sure they can reconcile their differences. If
Yeah.
Klingons can go bowling with furries, I think Star Wars nerds can hang out with Trekkies.
Pixar, it didn't happen, seriously. Like, where did Trekkies ever go bowling with furries?
Oh, I could definitely dig up pics for you.
Yay.
what?
Documented footage.
There's a regular bowling night somewhere in the United States where people dress up as Klingons and people wear their fursuits and they have a bowling match against each other.
That
And
sounds
the furries
Huh.
always
Please tell me that the
lose
furries win
horribly.
every single time.
No, they lose horribly because they don't have any vision and it's hard to pick up those bowling balls when you have paws. So
fair
the
point.
Klingons have great vision and full use of their hands, so they tend to win. But it's all in good fun, and they met each other through going to the same conventions, and there's no bad blood. It's just they get together and have a ridiculous bowling night.
I just actually think
Let's
that
see
they
if I can
should
bring
take
up
on
that picture.
G-Wolf.
Here,
in
where
game.
should I send you this picture? I do not have a link for it. It's on my computer.
I guess you can drop it in the Skype.
All right, there you go.
Thank you.
Evidence.
Although one thing, I mean, we've spoken about this before, but there's just stuff like the furry fandom, the brony fandom, and the Sonic fandom, like kind of almost individually, as opposed to the
so
Star
each
Wars
of these,
fandom. Yeah.
each of these are related to a specific medium or intellectual property. Sonic fans like the Sonic the Hedgehog series and all of its incarnations of the TV shows or the video games. My Little Pony bronies like My Little Pony. Star Wars people like Star Wars, but furries don't like furry. They just like anthropomorphic animals in any rendition.
Yeah, but actually,
and that's what sets us apart.
another thing, I kind of want to like lump the bronies and the Sonic fans in with the furry fans for this like question, but I mean, there's and we've spoken about this before. Like, I feel there is a lot more. I wouldn't say involvement, but like author insertion or like your own. The fact that everyone has like a pony version of themselves or their own Sonic OC Don't Steal or their own persona. It's sort of in my mind, sets it apart from something like the Star Wars fandom or the anime fandom, where there isn't that level of, sort of creation and own making.
There isn't the same level, but it definitely still exists. People still make Star Wars roleplay characters. People still make self-insertion anime fan, like self-inserted anime fan fiction. So it's not that it's just not as prevalent as it is in Sonic or My Little Pony, because Sonic and My Little Pony come with these sort of pre-made blank sprites that you could just color in yourself, and you don't need to have any artistic talent. You could just open it up in MS Paint with the paint bucket, and bam, you have yourself a new Sonic character.
Fair point. I think
Can I interject for like 2 seconds?
No,
it's not your show.
I have a female Jedi and a female Jedi name and everything like that. By the way, I'm just putting that out there.
Okay.
Is this for
the
a video
entire
game,
idea
or do you like have a tabletop roleplay game for it?
No. Like I've been playing Star Wars games for a while now, and it started off with like the game from, I think it was I started off with the original Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Koto
that was a great
doesn't.
game.
Rocket Dog says Koto doesn't count.
But it's such a good game, though.
It is such a good game. Above and beyond that, it was also from Jedi Academy.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, and the thing is that she has always been my female character. Her name is Metania Wheelos.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. And she literally, like, her name, every single time I have to pick a female character, in any of the games that I play, it's Metania Wheelos, Jedi or not.
Okay, fine. Fair point. I will, I concede the point.
So there is character creation.
Yeah, that point was brought up by someone who commented on my video, episode 10 on RPGs and the Fursona. And in that episode, I surmised that the Fursona sort of evolved out of role-playing games, especially the ones found on the computer. And someone commented right away and saying, well, it was also part of this self-insert fan fiction from all these other different fandoms.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all good points.
Apparently, I came out as a female Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Hooray!
We all still love and support you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I feel much better, coming out about it, and now I'm going to go kick some Sith ass.
Are you gonna like? How's the midichlorian treatment going?
It's going well. It could be better.
Cool.
They're not getting it down enough to have me stop like force lifting things in my sleep.
No Sith swings yet?
No, not yet. And
Okay.
that's Sith powers. I can't use Sith powers.
Okay, cool.
Mm.
Good, moving along swiftly.
Anyway, so yeah, tell us more about your Patreon project.
Yeah, so I set up a Patreon account for Culturally Effed, so I'm going to be advertising that at the end of every Culturally Effed video moving forward. If you don't know what Patreon is, it is a recurring donation. It's like a subscription, so every time I post a video, you get charged, but you can set a monthly limit, so you'll never go above your own budget if I'm posting too many videos for you. I don't think that's ever going to happen. We have a bunch of different tiers, and all of them give you access to a series I'm working on called Culturally Effed After Dark.
Ooh.
And Culturally Effed After Dark, or Effed After Dark for short, is going to be all about furries and sexuality.
Score.
So I just feel it's
Would
a
that
little
be
too
for people
risque.
over 18 or not?
When necessary, I will put an age restriction, but I'm going to try and keep the whole thing PG-13.
How do you make an After Dark thing PG-13?
Very, very carefully.
Best answer. Best answer.
Yeah, like I want it to be open and accessible. I'm not going to really show any nudity. We tried shooting an episode the other day. I don't know if I'm actually going to keep the footage, but I was trying to explain to the audience what a knot was.
Okay.
So, handy instruments I had a ukulele, and I was like, this neck of the ukulele is the shaft of the penis, and the body of the ukulele represents the knot. And just sort of use fun innuendo like that and visual tools without actually having to show anything.
And you're sure that's PG-13?
It's a ukulele.
The conversation point, though.
It's just anatomy. I'm not talking about anything too kinky.
This is the shit we learned in
go into
biology.
some loose definitions, but they're all very short and brief. And really, it's something that if people are interested in, they can Google it themselves.
Yes, that's a fair point.
I've given them the keyword. Google is on everyone's computer and phone. So if they really, really, really want to see something a little more risque than the things I'm willing to present, then yeah, they can go look it up.
Awesome.
Apparently, Tox is never going to look at a ukulele the same way ever again.
The ukulele I'm not even going to keep because it's not even that great of an example, but it's just what I had on hand at the time without having to like...
So I'm assuming that your next connection is like an electric guitar for some more interesting versions of similar shaft-like objects.
Yeah, sure. Well, for the straight shaft, I had a didgeridoo.
You have a didgeridoo?
Well, my roommate has didgeridoo.
We also had one
it's
in
in my
university.
house.
We found one in the room I moved in fifth year in university.
That's awesome.
My roommate has that now because I'm just gonna annoy everyone with it.
Yeah,
we need to get an Australian fur on here.
Yeah, we do.
And
So
that's going
Culturally
to be
Effed-
our intro. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Culturally After Dark, I will be releasing over the next few weeks, but it's only going to be accessible to patron sponsors. And then when I have a few episodes banked up, I think I'm going to release it publicly all together as like a special for the public. So if you don't want to give me any money, you can just sort of wait, and it'll come out eventually. But you do still have to subscribe to us on YouTube. But if you want to get it now, as soon as the episodes are ready, you can go to patreon.com/culturallyeft and pledge. We also have other levels of patronage. A $3 level, which gives you access to myself and Underbite for Google Hangouts. The $5 one per video, you get priority episode suggestions. So if you have an episode you really want to see, give us $5 a video, and your suggestion will go to the top of the list. And the last one is $10, and you get a personal thank you video or a personal digital art commission by Underbite, because he does art. You can check him out at furaffinity.com/Underbite. We also have prints for sale, but we don't have that set up just yet.
Does Patreon actually have a storefront? Or is that
I'm
through a
sorry?
different channel? Does Patreon have a storefront, or is that through a different channel?
That'll be through a different channel. I haven't set up a store yet.
Okay, cool. Just curious.
But yeah, all of the information right now is just at the Patreon website at /culturallyeft.
You
Yes,
do realize
Raven,
that
that is $10 a month, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Patreon is basically like a Kickstarter for a career,
yeah.
like an
Yeah,
ongoing
it's
career.
like a Kickstarter, but instead of one-time donation, which is what a Kickstarter is, it's like more of a subscription.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
With
it's like Culturally
Patreon,
F Netflix.
essentially as a Patreon or a patron to a person, you're actually giving them a monthly salary.
To help them fund like whatever the hell they're making. If you enjoy what they're making and you
Exactly.
want to give something back, that's what Patreon is for.
And if you don't even need to spend the tier levels. If you just want to give me 25 cents a video, you can still set that up. But you just don't get any of the bonuses that way.
And you already have a
Yeah.
supporter, it seems. Raven Song's gonna pitch in.
Yay! Thank you, Raven Song. You're the best.
Raven
It's
Song is
not
actually
per
pretty
month.
awesome.
Yeah, it's not per month. It's actually per video.
Oh, right.
I could set it to per month, but my concern with that is if I had a bunch of life happen at me all at once and I couldn't get that many videos out in 1 month, then I didn't want to like disappoint these people who were depositing money into my PayPal for nothing. So that's why I've decided to have it per video. So if $10 a month is too much, maybe pledge the $3 or the $5, and that'll still be within your monthly budget. And when you set up your Patreon, you can always set a max, so you'll never go above that.
That's pretty interesting. So for those of you who might just be joining us, we have Arrkay with us this evening. He's the founder of Culturally Effed on YouTube. For those of you who don't know, it'll be youtube.com/c/culturally effed. So culturally, spelled culturally, and then FD. And then you'll be able to get to his page. You can have a look at some of his content there. It's some pretty interesting stuff. He, like we mentioned earlier in the video, in the podcast, it's pretty much branching out to all aspects of what being furry is or being anthro is and things like that. And he's obviously also recently spoken about his Patreon account. Those of you who want to join that, Arrkay, once again.
Yeah, well, we're also on Fur Affinity, Weasel, and Facebook at Culturally Effed. That's spelled the same way as the YouTube, so Culturally FD. And we are on Twitter at Culturally_FD.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah. And so we're just talking about some of his projects, some of the things that he's been doing recently. I mean, like you tend to check large amounts of news blogs and things like that. And I'm assuming that you did mention that you were a fairly avid reader of things that came out on Adjective Species.
Yeah. I wish Adjective Species posted more often, but with shorter articles. Because they'll post maybe once a week, but their article will be like 15 pages. And that is just such a big commitment, you know? So I wish I love Adjective Species articles. I just wish they posted more often with smaller bites, you know? I really like dogpatch.press. They are a blog based out of San Francisco. The guy who runs it, Patch O'Fur, he has this ridiculous looking fursuit that manages to get in all manner of weird places, like random rap videos and cover art, and he just I don't know how he gets around, but he does.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, and they have been hosting Culturally Effed videos as well. And if you wanted to, you can head over to dogpatch.press, where I left them a sneak preview for some upcoming episodes called Furries in Space.
Okay.
Oh my God, we were talking about that last week as well.
Yeah, so there's a sneak preview to that at the dogpatch.press. It'll be a couple days old now, so you might have to scroll down or go to the next page. But there's a whole post just on Culturally Effed. There's the drag and fursuit videos, and then underneath that is the exclusive preview for them. And if anyone, since you guys listen to podcasts, I also left another preview for a different episode all about cryptozoology. And I sent that video to the team at furcast.fm.
Okay.
And their recent episode, episode 215, at the very end, they feature that. And that's another sneak preview and another link to my Patreon, basically.
Cryptozoology is interesting stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that one was a lot of fun. We shot the full version just the other day, and I got really into the character. We have a chalkboard and we cut up a newspaper to make it look like a big crazy conspiracy. Yeah,
Sort of like Steve Irwin if he like hit his head a little bit too hard.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, that one was a lot of fun. We mostly talk about Bigfoot and lizard people, because those are the two cryptozoology fields that are the most anthropomorphic.
Yeah, and
No,
I mean, lizard people rule the world apparently, so you can't really.
Oh
distinguish
yeah,
them out.
they definitely do.
what I find weird is that it's lizard people these days. Back in the 1980s, it was mole people.
For real. Why
I mean,
mole?
how do you hear so
Lizard
many
people
times?
have been known to live underground, so maybe the mole people are just disguised lizard people, or
Dun,
maybe
Or they're just a whole
dun.
bunch
the
of
other way
naked
around.
rats with scales.
Yeah.
Damn, son. This is how lizard people ate the mole people.
Well, it's so deep, it's
The
underground.
lizard.
And
No,
it's
I like that one the best. The lizard people ate the mole people.
Fair point. Now, speaking on sort of like a similar topic, and I'm not necessarily, I don't think that you've done a video on this yet, but the entirety of Therianthropy, what would your take be on that?
I still don't really know all that much about it, to be honest. I had a very brief definition in the latest episode on furry dialect, part 1, and there was a comment just last night from a Therian, someone who identified as a Therian, and said my definition was unsatisfactory, which is perfectly fair. It was just a bit of just like a sentence long, because I wanted it to be brief. But yeah, I still don't know too much about it. I haven't really looked too much into it. It seems to be one of those things that varies from person to person, so Therianthropy will mean different things to different people who identify as a Therian. So I think it's one of those things where I'll never get the same answer twice. If I ask a group of Therians, what does Therian and Therianthropy mean?
Okay,
You know?
just for the uneducated among us, myself included, what exactly is Therianthropy?
I wish I could answer you.
Okay, give me the same rundown you had in the video.
So the Whimsy the Jackalope commented on my video. Therianthropy is identifying as non-human animal on a non-physical level, either spiritually or psychologically.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, but isn't...
And for some people, Therianthropy has something to do with more of a spiritual connection, as mentioned with the non-physical identification as an animal. Yeah.
All right, cool. The more I know.
Interesting. Huh. I'm sorry, I'm racking my brain a little bit right now.
For?
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's one of those things that it's really hard to define. It's hard to find a good definition for it.
Because that essential definition is almost what I would call myself as a furry, is that I don't necessarily have a spiritual connection with an animal as much as I have a spiritual connection with the animal that has been sort of thought up and become part of my personality. Would you consider that to be Therianthropy, though? Could you consider that to be Therianthropy?
I think you could. Yeah, that sounds like a minimum level of self-identification. So I think just like being a furry, the only qualification you really need to be a Therian is to call yourself a Therian. Just like the only thing that makes any of us a furry is that we call ourselves furry.
Huh.
You can still love wolves, and you can still enjoy mascot costumes or what have you, but you aren't really a furry until you call yourself a furry.
That's a fair point.
And that's where you get the term latent furry, which is someone who doesn't know about or hasn't discovered the fandom. And yeah, there are definitely people who quote like the furry art they find on the internet, but they just don't call themselves a furry. And I don't think we should shove that label on them and just let them not be furry.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between a latent furry and a mundane?
Oh, a mundane is just someone who is just like a human.
Doesn't
They're just
ascribe to the furry
boring.
fandom at all.
Yeah,
But
they're
what if they
normal,
like
they're
Star Wars?
boring. They could be a part of the furry fandom, but maybe they lack a persona.
Uh,
But then they might still call themselves furries, so it doesn't really matter.
yeah.
I also think kind of like not knowing what the furry fandom is would almost automatic. Well, no, I can't say that. Statement retracted.
No, no.
No,
Go.
like if you don't know about the furry fandom, like it would automatically classify you as either a mundane or a latent furry kind of thing. Just your willingness to partake will shove you into one of those categories.
Yeah, but in that
Mhm.
same sense, I mean, like, we're talking about categories here, and categorizing people as this or as that or as everything like that. I mean,
Mm.
um, uh, it's been very well documented that I live in a very, very gray area. I hate doing that to people. Um, so I mean, like the thing is that one of the reasons why I'm asking this is that how broad are the actual terms? I mean, the thing is that, and that's one of the things that probably makes furry as unique as possible, in that you can't just a Star Wars fan is a Star Wars fan, a and they just sort of fall into sci-fi category. But the thing is that they're always going to be Star Wars fans. With furries, there are it's the same thing with metal, I guess. There are several different genres of metal, and you can listen to bits and pieces of every single one of them, but never say, "Oh yeah, no, I'm just a die-hard new metal fan," or
Grungecore
uh,
or whatever the fuck you people have.
grungecore, new
I think
wave
that's
of
an
heavy metal.
excellent analogy. I think comparing it to the metal fandom is an excellent analogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh. And
Aren't you chuffed with yourself now?
no. Um, yeah, so I mean, like those are interesting things that I mean, maybe I'm hoping that we're possibly bouncing ideas around here, because like the thing is that these are definitions that people would want to have, but the thing is that it's so difficult to define it as one specific
Hmm.
thing.
The big problem we have is we can't open up the dictionary to the word furry and it describe exactly what the fandom is. It just says
Yeah,
an adjective about animals.
yeah,
So we have to make our own definitions about this, and there are a lot of opinions in the fandom, and a lot of people who want to be an authority. It's a very democratic fandom in that way, in some ways
yeah.
anyway. So a lot of the
Autocratic.
the definitions I got in the furry lingo were sort of a mishmash of the different kinds of definitions I found.
Mm.
Like even the word "yif," which I didn't really talk about in part one. I plan on talking about it in part two, which will also be Culturally After Dark episode one on dirty words. "Yif" has like 8 definitions. There are 8 different ways you can use the word "yif" in a sentence.
Oof.
In fact,
Wow,
how
that's about
about
as
I bring up
versatile as
that
the word.
document and say a couple of them?
Huh.
Please enlighten us,
There's one moment.
because I guess I'm missing like one or two, or more. I don't use that word a lot though, to be honest. But
Yeah,
maybe that's just
it's
me.
all right. Let's see here. Urban Dictionary describes "yif" as being any one of the following. Noun: the sound supposedly made by Arctic foxes. This is the one that I heard first. The sound made by foxes.
Hmm.
But there's SciShow. Do you remember that awful music video that everyone
Yes.
loved to
Yeah.
hate?
Yes.
What does the fox say? So SciShow, another YouTube channel about science and all that, they had an episode on what sounds do foxes actually make, and not one of those noises sound anything like the word "yif." So I'm going to say that's a myth busted.
Mm.
It's so sad.
Definition
Copyright.
number 2.
Oh. Yeah.
Definition number 2 on "yif," standing for young, incredibly fuckable furry or yucky, idiotic furry fuckers.
Okay.
There's no sources on this. I've never heard this one before, but I do like a good acronym.
I don't necessarily like those acronyms, mostly because I'm not young anymore. Um,
Yeah. Definition number 3, proper name for a YIF sound server, a program for Linux to help handle audio.
Okay.
That's
Number 4 is a noun or verb for a sexual act of any sort. Number 5 is a noun standing for furry porn. Number 6 is an expression of joy made by furries. as in oh yif.
Oh no.
Really?
Yeah. And
I
in
should
the
use that
episode we
more
talk a
often,
little
and I
bit.
should use that in the office.
God,
Oh, please don't.
Yeah, I'm not going to be.
taking it back.
Oh yay! But oh yif, yeah. Woo!
Oh God, I'm not going to be at
Number
your
7.
HR hearing.
Number 7 was a non-invasive question about sexual feelings or will to mate. And
Okay.
number 8 was my own definition, standing for the Youth Intergalactic Fight Force, which was a toy commercial we made for Culturally Effed.
Okay.
Huh.
So yeah, that's all of the different things the word YIF can mean. And that's a sneak preview just for you listeners for a future episode of After Dark, which probably won't be public for a few months.
All right. Cool.
Okay, I'm going to drop the link of the toy commercial into the chat. There you go. Now everyone will see the Youth Intergalactic Fight Force fighting the mighty Ursine Rocket Republic.
Wow. Really?
God damn it.
You're just. Can you get any more discriminatory here? The earth signs, nothing but them, just earth signs.
Well, what else starts with you?
To call them urban.
No, that
No,
sounds.
but then it's not animal.
Yeah.
So we made this fake toy commercial, Yif versus Myrrh, for our episode on TV and toys. In that episode, we talk about all of the crazy 80s and 90s TV shows that had anthropomorphic animals, probably just copying Ninja Turtles. And the sole purpose of most of these shows was to just sell us toys. So we felt, what better way to illustrate that than by making our own toy commercial?
Hashtag Hasbro.
I hope you
Yeah,
have
so
that like
we
grainy ass 80s filter on it as well.
we tried.
Ah, okay, cool.
We tried it. It's like all washed out with blue and orange.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried to make it as vintage looking as possible.
Awesome. I'm just like those toy commercials were like so ingrained in my childhood. It's kind of just funny seeing them like play out in a completely different light now.
Sam and
Yeah,
Max.
that was a really fun day to shoot. We just got. I spent the evening before just gluing animal heads onto GI Joes, and painting them and making up stupid names for them, and then we set up a little stage on my kitchen table, just to make it look all spacey and like a, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Now I'm just reminded of Awesome Notes.
Yeah, Awesome Notes is also 80s as hell, but yeah, that's a different kettle of fish.
Yeah. Still has a large amount of furry in it for a mainstream game.
The 80s had a lot of furry in it.
For a mainstream game.
Yeah, like the TV series were like, how many? Yeah, like I can probably name like
Street
off the top of my-
Sharks, Biker Mice from Mars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Bucky O'Hare,
Yeah.
Extreme Dinosaurs, Dinosaurs. Fuck, there's so many, dude.
Yeah, the reason I had to incorporate the toys specifically is because I don't want Culturally F just to be a list show, and it's very easy just to find a list on Wikipedia of animal TV shows and just spout out that list, right? So I really try and make a story out of it and make it interesting and flow with a narrative. So the only 2 list shows we really have is the one on Furry Lingo, because we just sort of go definition to definition. And the other one was Animal Uprisings in Human Cinema. That one was pretty much a list show.
Planet of the
But
Apes.
TV and toys, I tried to like give it a structure and explain a little bit of history as opposed to just listing off a series of shows.
But you're completely right. Like most of those 80 shows were designed like specifically with the intention to sell whatever the hell toys they had for it. I mean everything.
Yeah.
The G.I. Joe TV show, the He-Man stuff, Thundercats, whatever the
It
hell.
all started in the mid-70s.
The heady days of TV and commercialism.
Well, that does depend. I mean, remember that My Little Pony came out of those times as well.
Yeah.
Yep. All
Gen-
just for the purpose of selling toys.
Yeah.
Hasbro was their producers.
Yeah. Gen 1 was better.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
If you really want to piss people off, just say Gen 3 was better. Like the most sexist thing.
What was Gen 3?
Sexist as hell. That's about it.
I don't know what that means. Like I'm
Like,
talking
okay,
Gen 1, like
actually, you know what,
generation 1 of My Little
I'm
Pony
sure
was better.
we're gonna catch them all. Don't worry.
I do want to speak about that. Now, obviously, you had all of these TV shows and things like that, and like you came out there and you kind of started talking about how they were selling things and how they were, and you can also think that round about the 1970s, that was when the biggest divide between like female cartoons or cartoons meant for
Yep.
women and cartoons
Yep.
meant for men came from. I mean, you look
I read an essay on that for my
Yeah.
research. It was about specifically Strawberry Shortcake was the first female-focused toy show that proved to be incredibly successful. Because before that, every show sort of defaulted to boys, much in the same way the video game industry has been working, and they didn't really have any like they had one token female character that they were expecting their entire female audience to relate to, because they didn't think girls were watching TV. They thought they were playing with dolls and whatever else, right? Much in the same way, video games, people are being shocked to learn that girls are playing video games.
Lies!
There aren't really like girl games. They're just sort of games. So in the same way in the 80s and 90s, they just realized they're missing half of their audience completely, and they started pumping out all of these girl shows.
Like,
But,
who remembers
no, I
Venus
mean,
de Milo
sorry.
from the Ninja Turtles?
Hey?
Who remembers
Huh?
like Venus de Milo from the Ninja Turtles? The
Yeah,
one female
let's not
character
talk about her.
Look, I mean, honestly, I spoke about this with my graphic design class. I give English for graphic design at the institute that I work for. And one of the things that I constantly ask them, and oddly enough, some of the people who are listening to the show right now kind of helped me figure this out. One of the things that I actually asked was name 5 female characters made by either Marvel or DC that have superpowers comparable to the strongest like villain in the sort of arc that they're part of, don't fall for men at any point that it actually sort of detracts them from their actual purpose, and then would also be able to go toe-to-toe with the best and the strongest male character as well.
Help, dude! Name 5.
I could
Sorry.
probably do that.
Name 5
Yeah,
female. Name 5 female superheroines who are not related, who do not have a male counterpart, like of the same name-ish.
Okay, fine. In that same sense. Granted, I mean, like, the thing is that you can easily talk about Storm in that kind of sense. You can look at Marvel, Mrs. Marvel, Ms. Marvel, sorry. Not married. Not married. What's her name? But, like, the thing is that, like, do they have their own comic?
Or do you like? What about a lot of Marvel's reboots? Because you could even list Thor. You could argue it has a male counterpart, but in the canon of the books, she is Thor. There used to be a different guy playing Thor, just like Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is now a woman.
Thor is kind of like
far more
the movie
recent. This is far more recent right now.
This is much more recent. But I'm just wondering if the question also would include to correctly answer your question, if we could cheat and include those reboots.
Yeah, because Thor is kind of just like a title, and now it's held by a woman.
Exactly.
Held in the
Storm. There's Jean Grey.
Jean Grey, but Jean Grey does in fact have a love interest, and it does affect her.
Oh,
her
well, I
fighting
mean,
ability.
almost all the characters, in male or female, is going to have some love interest or another.
Are we talking the Bechdel test?
Even Storm is a love interest. She has Black Panther.
Yeah. Are we talking about like Bechdel test for superheroines?
Say that again?
Are we talking like the Bechdel test for superheroines?
Do you know what the Bechdel test is? Well, for your audience's purposes, the Bechdel test was made by a feminist author to determine how feminist a film is. And
I know
there's
that.
3 steps. Yeah, there's 3 steps. The first one is, are there 2 named female characters? The second step is, do they talk to each other? And the third step is, do they talk to each other about something other than a man?
Yeah.
That's the Bechdel test, and that can be applied to books or comics or movies, just about anything.
Yeah.
They actually did that with Star Wars.
Yep. I was sad to realize that Star Fox failed the Bechdel test. One
Yeah, but,
female
I mean-
character.
And all she really does is either talk in a language that you can't understand or...
Or just talk to Star Fox.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, I mean, like, and then that's obviously a question that maybe cursorily kind of explains why furry is, I think, far more male orientated at present. Although there is a large contingent of females beginning to sort of, and not even beginning. I mean, they've been filtering in, but I think you can see that a large bulk of them are beginning to come to the fore more from around about 2010-ish.
Yeah.
I can agree to that somewhat. There's still like the 2014, 2015 box office, like film wise, it was really, really bad for women representation in major like American film. So there's still lots of work to do, but I think it's become a lot more visible, and advocates like feminist advocates have become a lot more vocal in pointing this out, and it's becoming a larger part of like the global dialogue, not just in any one area.
Yeah, fair point. Although, yeah, Pacific Rim had a like extremely strong female character who was like, the love interest was like minimal in that whole movie, and it only really happened like more towards the end. But technically, that movie does fail the Bechdel test because it's just like it's the one female Jaeger pilot.
There was another
there's
female
the-
Jaeger pilot.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, man, the Russian. Yeah,
the
there
Russian
was
one.
But
I don't know if they
But
actually
she
talked
died
to each other.
that
horribly.
thing
I have
had
to
like
say that was a terrible death.
yeah, the Russian thing had like 10 minutes of play maybe. The Russian Jaeger. Ugh.
Yeah.
I love that movie. It's so dumb, but it's so amazing. It's like Power Rangers, but for adults.
You know what? The first time I watched that movie, I thought that it had some merit, and then the second time I watched it, I started realizing that that merit was fading. And then the third time I watched it, I was like, "Holy crap! This dialogue is wooden. How even?"
Really, you went for the dialogue.
It was the third time I was watching it. I was apparently very bored.
I had to bite my tongue really hard on one part where they said like, the EMP knocked out most of the Jaegers except for Jeep's Danger because it's analog. Bullshit! That thing is analog. That thing has fucking dials and unless it's running on Steam, it's not analog. I had to bite my tongue so hard in that movie.
I had to stop myself from laughing at the one point where Idris
It's,
Elba just
operates
decides
with
to
magnetic
shout.
tape.
Say again, Mark?
Maybe it's analog in that it operates on magnetic tape.
Oh, dude, even magnetic tape will like freaking the warp in some sense if an EMP blasts something. I think. Oh, dude, I don't know, man. That's just. Ugh.
Yeah. The one poignant part though, which actually makes me walk out of a room every time I see it, is like little kids in extremely dangerous situations.
Yeah. Like little.
Like, I
Mako-
can't-
Yeah. Little Mako.
Yeah, I
crying.
cannot. Yeah, go. Sorry.
No, that's what I was gonna say. You cannot handle it.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, and you can ask the people that I watched this movie with, and was like, "Oh, watch this movie," which is why I watched it 3 times. But like the people who did watch it with me noticed me literally just walk out of the room, quietly just sort of stand in the kitchen and start crying, and then come back.
No.
It's exactly what happened with me and like what's the word? Guardians of the Galaxy. You're saying that 2014, 2015 doesn't necessarily have strong, like, female characters. Guardians
Yeah,
of the
I mean
Galaxy.
that's just like based on the few movies I've managed to see and some other sort of reviews on the topic.
Mm.
No, there wasn't really a lot of strong stuff.
No, and that's not to say there was necessarily a lack of strong female characters. It's just a lot of those movies that featured them didn't really have anything else other than the one strong female character.
That's very true.
Like almost all of the Avengers movies so far, they have Black Widow and Black Widow. They don't have anyone else.
What about Guardians of the Galaxy? Like your female protagonist and your female
Yeah.
antagonist.
Well, yeah, they are. Yeah, there is a female Avenger coming in again soon.
Yeah, Captain Marvel.
Well, one more. The Wasp.
Oh yeah, the Wasp.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna get a Wasp. We're gonna get a Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was pushed back though.
Okay. Yeah.
We're getting on Netflix. We're getting Jessica Jones.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that's all I can really think of off the top of my head. There might be a couple more.
Isn't there like what's it? Agent Carter? Is that a Marvel thing or
Yeah.
a DC thing?
That's Marvel.
Okay.
That's the Captain America World War II era stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Fine.
Anyway, back to animal people.
Yes. Back
Yes.
to animals.
There's not enough animal people in this conversation.
I was talking about Rocket Raccoon in my head.
In your head, yeah. You never
In your
actually
head, yeah.
outwardly mentioned him.
Well, Rocket Raccoon then.
You know, 2014, 2015 wasn't a good year for furry representation in the movies.
No, you're right, except for Rocket Raccoon.
I think 2016, just with Zootopia and Rock Dog, we're gonna get a lot of furry movies.
And Secret Life of Pets.
Yeah. There's a couple of other ones I can't remember the titles of though. There's a couple coming out of China. China that has been kicking up their animation studios a little more.
What was your opinion on Over the Hedge?
If I have seen it, and I think I did, I don't remember feeling too strongly about it. It was kind of boring.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember much about it, and that is my opinion.
In the last 5 or so years, there was a lot of stuff like between Pixar and DreamWorks that's like trying to one up each other in the same topic.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what's happening with Rock Dog and Zootopia.
I want to see the trailers
Disney
for Rock
announced
Dog.
Zootopia, and like a week later, the trailer for Rock Dog came out.
Yeah, but that's the basic premise of what movies, or at least what movie companies do, is that somebody, a screenwriter, sells his general basic idea to two different people, two different companies.
Yeah, fair point. That's kind of forgot about that.
And I mean, like Over the Hedge, The Nut Job, Shark Tale versus
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo,
Ants versus Bugs
yeah.
Life. There was Open Season versus Over the Hedge was Open Season, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Open Season, which actually managed to make a sequel. But before that, if you look at things like Baltar, Fox and the Hound, like in their own right, they were their own stories. They stood out for themselves. Lion King. Was it just because? Was it because somebody just had a monopoly?
Yeah.
I think like Lion King sort of brought about movies like Balto.
Yeah, no one competed with Disney at that point.
I think like United Artists were still around, and I think they had a couple of animated features.
And Miramax as well.
Yeah, it was before Disney bought them all.
Yeah, Miramax was, if I'm not mistaken,
Disney owns everything.
But the secret, the Nim was Miramax, wasn't it?
I'm not sure.
Was Secret of... No, I have no idea.
Who owns Deke now?
Does anyone want Deke?
Yes.
I could go for some Deke.
Fair point.
No, man, those were all just like straight up knockoffs. Like, fucking hell.
Which ones?
Heathcliff, like Heathcliff versus Garfield. It's like they could basically be the same characters.
Was Heathcliff Deke?
Yes, it was.
Were they okay? And like Hanna-Barbera then? Then obviously Deke stole a lot of things from both Hanna-Barbera and...
Yeah, and other cartoon places. No, but Hanna-Barbera churned out characters like it was no one's business.
Yeah, especially in the 90s.
Even before that, like the Flintstones era almost.
Speaking of which, anthro representation in the 90s, when it comes to cartoons, would you say that there was a dip?
I would say it peaked in the early 90s and then sort of started to trail off by the early 2000s. So it started with Ninja Turtles and their crazy, huge amount of success. And that sort of trailed in through 1996 was when that started to finally wane off.
Yeah.
But at that time we still had shows like Gargoyles and such. So
Samurai
yeah,
Pizza Cats.
I wouldn't say there was a dip. I would say that's just when it started to wane and just dip off completely. And we had a good couple of years where there wasn't really too much coming out.
But what really replaced it? I mean, because as much
Nothing.
as the whole furry thing was kind of a trend and a toy selling mechanism to a degree, riding off with the success of Ninja Turtles and all that stuff. Like, was there something that sort of predominantly replaced that? Or
I think Pokemon, Digimon, those
Yeah.
Japanese properties came in
fair
because
point.
Ninja Turtles was incredibly American, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Pokemon didn't come out till like what 94, 96, somewhere in there. And then Digimon came out not too long after, and that introduced a lot of people to anime. So I would say what replaced the Ninja Turtle stuff would be video games and anime.
Okay, fair point.
And now we have, I think we're in like a renaissance of excellently made cartoons with shows like Adventure Time and Steven Universe, and even My Little Pony. Like none of us like My Little Pony here, but people
Hey.
go nuts for it.
No,
Oh,
Ivik does, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. You know how foam at the mouth, raving mad bronies can get about My Little
Okay,
Pony.
I'm not like that, but
Wipe the foam out of your mouth, Ivik.
That's not foam.
I have brony ratings. Oh, I am apparently a female Jedi thrope, and I
I
foam
think
the
that makes
mouth
you a
with brony.
Pegasister.
I'm a I'm a Pegasister with a flying fucking lightsaber. Wow.
Yeah. Oh
Great.
God, that's too much internet for me.
With like the Jedi Rebellion as your your
As
key
your
mark.
pony mark.
Yeah.
Have you not seen like half the Fallout brony stuff that's been coming out?
No.
Who cares? Like,
I second that notion.
Seriously, dude. Like, there's
Yeah,
phony
anyway.
stuff of everything, and I will not have it pollute my Fallout. I will not.
Anyway, so we have had a lot of fantastically high quality Western cartoons come out in just the past couple of years. So I think,
You missed
but
out
they
on
aren't.
Wake Show.
And I think, yeah, part of that is that they're not so much toy focused. My Little Pony might be because like its previous iterations were all just toy commercials, right?
Yeah.
So MLP is probably a little bit more merchandise focused, but like Adventure Time and all of these other really excellent cartoons
Gravity
coming
Falls.
out. Yeah, like they have toy lines, but I think they're just more making excellent TV than they are worried about selling merchandise. Because if the show is good enough, then the merchandise is going to sell no matter what it is.
And you don't get
Or
toy
who's buying it.
Yeah, you don't really get toy commercials anymore either. It's like I haven't like I don't watch a lot of commercials or TV, but like you don't see those as
consider
much.
where you get advertised at.
Yeah,
Now
fair
that
point.
you are an adult, you spend your time looking at adult things in the internet and on TV. So why would you end up seeing a lot of toy commercials?
Ivik, do you want to
Disagree.
Like what are they still punting at you on TV?
No, not on TV.
Nerf
but
guns?
Like,
Nerf guns, I'm pretty sure are still selling and making commercials.
Yeah, well, they're selling in offices. That's the only place.
yeah. Have you seen how intensely like intricate Nerf guns have actually gotten these days?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of crazy. I think maybe part of that is an adult market, like what we've been talking about with furry and all these kids cartoons. Is there's an adult market for Nerf guns now, and that is cosplaying. Cosplayers want to buy these cheap plastic guns, spray paint them to look like the gun in the video game, and put on their foam armor for the convention, and there you go.
Yeah.
And then they get their gun confiscated by the con staff.
It just looked. All of them just look like Borderlands guns. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Speaking of like adult-focused things becoming more adult-focused, like there's also been a big revival in like, or not a revival even, just like a big swing towards cartoons
I
aimed at
don't.
adult audiences. Like,
Yeah, well, there's definitely like Adult Swim and adult cartoons, but I think what I was getting at with the like Adventure Time, Steven Universe, My Little Pony is that they aren't necessarily adult focused, as they are adult inclusive.
yeah, fair point.
So they're still technically like for the TV producers, like their one page states the target audience is the young people,
Hmm.
but it's not offensive to these adult people either. And if it's good enough, then they're going to love it too.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in that same sense, I mean, you're looking at regular show, and regular show happens to it's their 26, 27-year-old guys who are working a 9 to 5 job on a big area, layabouts probably marijuana users. So can you really call that adult inclusive, or is that actually aimed at adults?
I would say a regular show is adult inclusive.
Yeah, I thought it's not
I'm a
aimed at
fan of
adults.
regular show, but yeah, I think it's still very kid safe, and they
Yeah.
can still play it like during the daylight hours when kids are going to watch it, and there isn't too much in there that parents would find offensive.
Yeah, like
But there's still a lot in there that stoners like me will find hilarious.
yeah, 'cause, like yeah, Family Guy is aimed at adult audiences. Archer,
Yes.
Moonbeam City, Bob's Burgers, they are aimed at adults for sure. But I was kind of like struck by the fact that the TV show Workaholics is basically like Ed, Ed and Eddie in 10 years' time.
Really?
It's basically like sort of the same concept. But
Huh.
yeah, Workaholics is like ridiculous. It's so dumb. I love it.
Since we were talking about anime earlier, there are 2 or 3 really, really interesting movies that actually, not necessarily recently, but they came out specifically, Wolf Children and Summer Wars. Summer Wars to a very, very small extent, but the thing is that what's actually interesting about, say, Summer Wars is that it bases itself on the fact that the entirety of the world is literally living out their day-to-day job-focused stuff and buying of things for their avatars and everything like that online. Um, and I mean, like the thing is that how close are we actually to doing that? Would you say that to a small extent, back in the 1980s, that furries actually sort of started that, or kick-started that kind of idea?
Yeah, I think we're a part of that movement. I'm not sure if we can really say furries started that. I talk about a lot of stuff in Culturally Effed about furries and the olden internets, and people kind of infer from that, oh, furries started X, but I think part of it was just a larger nerd culture that furries were a part of. But anyway, as to your question, I think, yeah, we definitely played a big hand in that. This is very visible, and it's sort of in creating that visibility for people who wanted to be animal people. It gave us a chance to gather and form our communities. You mentioned Summer Wars, and my episode on Muds and Mucks and the internet on the thumbnail has the Summer War character.
Yeah.
King
King
Kazuma?
Yes.
King Kazuma, I think his name is.
King Kazuma, yeah.
Yeah, and I picked that image because of Summer Wars' representation of the internet and avatars.
It's actually one of the reasons why I was asking it, because I actually also I recently watched Summer Wars again,
Such a good movie.
and it's actually a very, very good representation of how we sort of sometimes forget the outside world for the more preferable inner worlds that we sort of like play in. And that like traditions and things like that seem to not matter as much as they used to. And would you say that that's actually happening within, say, the furry community, and that we're becoming far more globalized? We're beginning to understand one another on that sort of what you would call the American, I think we could call it furry lingo. I mean, everybody knows what the word yif means. Everybody has an idea of what an anthro is, or a therian is, or all of these lovely little sort of like terms and terminology that we actually use. And it's not just it's not country specific anymore. It never really was. But we've broken that barrier. And do you think that it's a good thing or a bad thing for furry culture as a whole?
I would say, firstly, that furries are ahead of the curve on this because a big chunk of the fandom has been on the internet since the mid '90s, when it started to become really accessible. And whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not sure. If it is good or bad, it's probably good. I think it's good because then I can go to a convention across the world and still feel like I'm amongst friends and at home. Even if the language is different, or if there are other cultural barriers, but I'll still be amongst furries. I would still be hanging out with fursuiters and looking at art and all that other weird, getting drunk and all that other stuff furries do at cons.
Speaking, sorry, yeah, go.
No, I was done.
Okay. Speaking about cons, I have been making phone calls for those of you who think that the con idea has died. I'm actually waiting on pictures and documentation from the Free State University. There have been a couple of concerned questions in respect to some of the things that have been going on in respect to the university life these days. But yeah, con is still on. Con is actually getting very, very close to its finalizing stages. And we should be able to give you feedback within the next couple of weeks. I'm not promising anything, but I'm just saying that still alive, we're still existing, we have things happening. Obviously, we're just not necessarily talking about it as often as that. Okay, so start seeing hype soon. It will happen.
All aboard the hype train. Toot toot.
Woo, Gaben. Yeah. So I mean, and that's the interesting thing. I mean, if it wasn't for cons like Anthrocon or Eurofurence or London Furs getting together or anything like that, we wouldn't have the content to see what it's like and whether we want to emulate that in its own way. And that's something that is kind of special in that. Yeah, I mean, like South Africa is trying, and we'll definitely get there. We're a group of extremely enthusiastic people, and I think that if the enthusiasm doesn't necessarily die, we'll be able to make it by next year. And you've actually said that you wanted to come at one point, if I can't remember correctly, Arrkay.
Oh yeah, I would totally go.
There we go.
Yeah, I just bit short on funds, so if you donate to my Patreon account, maybe I can afford to.
Ta-da! Look, cross-pollination. Woo.
Just check out patreon.com/culturallyeft and give me some funds so that I can go out to south-afrifur and hang out.
Huh.
Shameless plug.
No, well,
I professionally I worked in the music industry, so I am zero shame about plugging.
No. I completely understand that. Like, yeah, sort of. The thing with the music industry is like a lot of people who were like fans of a band bitch and moan that they sell out or something as soon as they make it big.
But
if you can make money off of music, that's like nigh impossible to do.
Yeah, it's really hard, but people do it. People do it without selling out. One of the bands I work with, Silverstein, they managed to become very successful, and they were never signed to a big label. They did it all in-house. They're actually like they're a huge band outside of Canada. They're actually really large, big success story. But yeah, we don't really hear too much of them here at home.
No, it's sweet.
All right. Anyway, we are closing up in the last 5 minutes of the podcast.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know.
This went by too fast.
You want to know why we tend on having like guests come back every now and again, it's because like there's so much more to talk about on any given occasion. And again, like what I'd really like to do is I'd like to thank you again for joining us and for talking about some of the more interesting issues in respect to the anthroculture, and a couple of interesting questions I think were fielded and answered quite well. So I mean, like, really, thank you so much, Arrkay, for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, cool.
Anytime.
Obviously, we've gotten to the point where we thank our fans. Firstly, I'd like to give a massive shout out to Furry FM once again for hosting the stream with us, with a special sort of call out to Rocky Draconis, or Scratch, please.
Unrock, that's his name.
Who's actually listening on the stream as a quiet observer. So yeah, for being in the background there, thank you so much. Obviously, Bravura, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity.
I would like to thank Ravensong for contributing to my Patreon page. That is awesome of you, Ravensong. Thank you so much.
Already? Wow, she works fast.
All right.
Yeah. So if you guys want to follow her lead, I like her a lot more than any of the rest of you. So
Wow.
Check out my Patreon page, catch up with her.
Wow.
Selling your love, I like it.
So in that same sense, like, I'd like to thank Rocket Dog, Totem, thank you for coming back as well. Tox, Renee, Ravensong, Victor, Bravura actually popped on for a couple of seconds as well. As well as all the people listening from the Furry FM side. I know that you guys, hopefully, depending on what kind of feedback we get, we would love to be able to continue giving an English-specific podcast on the show there as well. So, I mean, like, the more feedback you give us from that side and let us know what we should do to change things. I know that a lot of the time our audio quality isn't necessarily the best, but there's very, very little we can do with that. Is that we're from South Africa. Bandwidth issues, etc., etc. We do try, though. So, I mean, if there's anything that you'd like us maybe to speak about, maybe people that you'd like us to speak about that you can get into contact with, please just, forward them through, let us know, so that we can do everything to our power to look at both sort of sets of fans. Speaking of which, if everything goes right, next week we've got Tumol, the founder of, I think it was So-Furry,
Okay.
who will be joining us. I sent him an email throughout the week. So that'll be next week, Sunday, 8 o'clock CAT, 7 o'clock CET. And because of changing times in America on the 1st, which is that Sunday, it will be 1 p.m. EST.
Daylight saving time's just dumb. Get rid of it.
But yeah, so again, thank you very, very much for listening to the podcast. We really, really appreciate your continued support and your continued listening and your interesting comments that you guys put through on the first stream side. And again, we'll see you guys next week. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks,
It's
everybody.
been fun. Cheers, gents.
Bye-bye.